Hello everyone, welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports, and some big news in the Rugby Championship. It looks like things are back on track and we will have a location for the rest of the Rugby Championship after this weekend's third Bledisloe Cup match between Australia and New Zealand was called off over the uncertainty of what will happen with regards to the hosting of the Rugby Championship. But according to a story in the New Zealand Herald today, SANZAAR has officially confirmed the venue and what exactly will happen. So we're going to talk you through exactly what is going to happen for the rest of the Rugby Championship in just a few seconds. And we'll talk about fixtures, when they will happen, what they will happen, and how sort of quarantining and stuff will work. But before we do, please do smash a like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. As always, a big thank you to Manscaped who are currently supporting the channel. You can get yourself 20% off as well as free shipping on all Manscaped products using the code FOREVER. They are trusted by over 2 million men worldwide and the #1 tools for your family jewels and men's below the waist grooming. Go and check them out. Use the code FOREVER to get 20% off as well as free shipping anywhere worldwide. You support them, they'll support us. But in terms of the Rugby Championship, so we had all these stories sort of going on last week talking about where will the Rugby Championship take place? What is actually going to happen with the Rugby Championship? And quite a few sort of stories talking about it going to Europe, where they could have fans, for it being moved within Australia, but to a different location, because it was all supposed to take place in Perth. And there was quite a big backlash on Friday when New Zealand announced they had cancelled their 2 matches against South Africa in New Zealand and will not be traveling, I think it was actually on Thursday, sorry, and will not be traveling on Saturday to play against Australia this week. So, and the story sort of then came out that South Africa was potentially going to offer to host the Rugby Championship, and it was sort of all up in the air. We didn't quite know what was going to happen. We saw Jacques Nienaber talking about the fact on Saturday that they'll be happy to host the Rugby Championship, but are happy to go anywhere. Mario Ledesma in his press match conference last week talking about the fact that they will travel anywhere they need to travel to try and get the Rugby Championship sorted. But apparently it has all been confirmed that the rest of the Rugby Championship will take place in Australia, but in Queensland as opposed to Perth. So the third Bledisloe Cup match, which was supposed to be this weekend and has been postponed, will be played in Perth on the 4th of September. They will then make the move to Queensland, where the Springboks in Argentina will already be quarantining during that time for the rest of the Rugby Championship. We will have the remaining fixtures, which will see South Africa take on Australia and New Zealand take on Argentina on Saturday the 11th and Sunday the 12th. Following that, Saturday the 18th, Australia versus South Africa, Argentina versus New Zealand. And then the 2 matches, Australia versus New Zealand, Argentina versus Australia on the 25th of September. And the tournament will come to a close at this stage on the 2nd of October. So that is currently how things stand, what will happen. So you'll imagine that if, as soon as this gets announced, that the Springboks and the Argentina will jump on a plane and then they will go over to Australia, which will then host the remainder of the series. So, they'll probably want to move sooner or later so they can get their quarantine period done. There is officially at this stage no official confirmation from SANZAAR itself. They have made no official announcement about these plans, but it is being published in the New Zealand Herald, which is quite a credible source. And I think that from the sounds of it, the All Blacks, and they came out and were trying to sort of defend themselves, saying that they never said that they wouldn't play. They're not sort of bailing out or cowering out, as a lot of people have said, but they don't want to travel unless they know exactly what the plan is because of the traveling issues back into New Zealand and whether, when they can get back into the country. So basically they were saying that they were kind of boycotting the idea of traveling until they have a sort of finalized plan of exactly what will happen. Whereas I think Argentina and South Africa were probably a little bit more fluid. I think they were set to fly to Australia on Sunday. It was then put on hold last week. It was confirmed on Friday when South Africa came out and said they were willing to host the championship. They will not be flying out until there is an official plan and stuff like that. But I think that they're probably a little bit more fluid and more willing to be a bit more fluid about the situation than New Zealand were. But if this is the case, then hopefully it can be sort of sorted out, it can be ratified, and we can have a final fixture list for the rest of the Rugby Championship so we can get it done. At the moment, South Africa sitting top of the log after their second victory over Argentina. A bit of a messy game on Saturday. By the way, thank you everybody who joined us on the watch along with the country. It was a fantastic one. But still on top of the log. So South Africa will be able to go and play Australia to try and sort of get themselves, almost set up a bit of a final against New Zealand, assuming that New Zealand and Australia, or New Zealand beat Australia for a second time next weekend. If Australia win the game next weekend, well, then the entire Rugby Championship kind of sort of blows itself open with South Africa taking a lead. So quite a lot still to obviously unfold with the Rugby Championship. We have only had 3 games, 1.5 rounds really. So very much the early stages, but already we're sort of seeing that South Africa seem to have a very good depth and a very good sort of squad rotation policy, which seems to be working quite well. Not the prettiest game on Saturday, but it's winning rugby. And they didn't get the bonus point, but to be honest, I've always sort of thought that bonus point in the Rugby Championship often doesn't really matter. Because usually just sort of comes down to the problem with the Rugby Championship is very rare that, Argentina will beat All Blacks and South Africa, or Australia will beat All Blacks and South Africa. There are more often than not, there's either one team who sort of steamrolls it, or two teams who sort of beat the other two teams quite easily, and then it comes down to whether they can beat each other. And that's where the sort of the home ground and away advantage has really made a big difference in the Rugby Championship. But I don't think bonus points will be that important. I think at the end of the day, you win all your games, you win the championship. The Springboks beat Australia twice and beat New Zealand twice, they win the Rugby Championship. So I'm not particularly worried about the bonus points stuff. It's obviously the nice thing that you want to have, and sometimes it can make a difference, and if it does, we'll revisit this conversation, but generally it comes down to winning your games. You win your games, you win the Rugby Championship. So hopefully we'll have a final decision and a final announcement very, very soon. But Queensland is at this stage the location for the rest of the Rugby Championship, so it will continue to be in Australia. But we'll keep you updated if anything does change, because it is a very fluid situation. Smash like on the video. Do subscribe to the channel as well. My name is Steven. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll chat to you guys all very, very soon.